MOOps.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining us for another episode of MOOps TV. This episode is going to be hosted by me, Justin Myers, and joining us today I have Rachel Squire. So Rachel, I'd love for you to do some quick intros. I obviously said your name already, but who are you and where do you work?
I'm Rachel. I'm the Marketing Operations Manager at Tasktop Technologies, and I've been here for about a year.
Awesome. So been at Tasktop for about a year, but how long have you been in the general marketing revenue ops space?
I just finished year 6, so I've been doing it 3 companies, 6 years.
Nice. Veteran at this point. When in your career did the mistake you're going to chat with me about today happen?
Way too early, like early enough that you get super freaked out about the future of your career.
Nothing like a little early career anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so tell me kind of what you were trying to do in the mistake that happened.
So this is right when like all the Canada spam laws were coming out and like you're hearing about them. And I had prior worked with an agency to learn Marketo and they got us all stood up and everything. And then I graduated and then they weren't there anymore to support me. And I had to do this project all by myself. And I was so excited because it was my first like really big project solo. And we're working in Marketo and I have everything set up ready to like coordinate people's opt-ins, whether it was explicit or what was the other implied, like if they're a customer or whatever, from Canada. And so everything's up and running, ready to go. I tested all of the opt-in stuff, pretended I got a VPN from Canada, like I did everything. It was awesome. One thing I did not do, what happens is I come into work the next morning after this launches and I have an email in my inbox saying, hey, you're going to be unsubscribed if you don't continue to opt in to receive our emails. And I'm like all the blood like drops down into your stomach and you're freaking out. You're like, okay, I did something wrong. Hopefully it's just because my VPN was set to Canada still or something. I don't know what's going on. So I'm like quickly, you know how you like get in Marketo and you're like frantically trying to figure out what happened. I go into Marketo, try to see like what's going on. I realized that basically the entire freaking database got my email saying you're going to be unsubscribed from this. And next thing I know, we've got people from the whole company like talking about it, like, why did I get this email? And like, why are you unsubscribing me? I work here. It was really bad.
To this day, do you know what caused it? Was it just like, so you said Marketo, so smart list logic error, or like kind of more specifically what happened?
Oh yeah, here I was being like, the agency always told me to optimize your campaign. So like add extra filters and blah, blah, blah. So I was like adding extra filters to do people who like, if you're unsubscribed, you don't need this email. If you're whatever, I had like 13 filters and I had set it to any instead of all. And you know how like it takes forever to load the number of people that's going to process. I just go home because I'm like, I know I did it right. I'm just going to leave. It was a big mistake.
I've had one of those as well, and mine was definitely later in my career than right at the beginning, where I did the any all issue also. So it sounds like pretty much everyone noticed it in this scenario, right? Including like the C-suite and stuff.
Yes, one of the first people who asked me what happened was the CEO because he didn't want to be unsubscribed. So like, I'm pretty sure I was as red as a tomato when he like walked up to my desk and inquired. He was very nice about it, probably nicer than I deserved actually, but
no. So once it was like public knowledge, what did you kind of do at that point to remedy the situation?
It was the worst day because this was before a abort campaign. And so I just had to sit there and watch the emails go out all day. And I called Marketo support and I called the agency we had worked with and like, there was no abort campaign. They're all like, you just gotta let it happen. And it was really, really, really depressing. And so I did create another campaign that had remove from flow, and I tried to remove as many people out as I could. And it did end up getting like half of the list or something, but that still sucks, but and then of course, like, I removed some Canadians, so I had to do it again the next day to get the actual Canadians, and the whole thing was a giant mess.
It sounds like you kind of inevitably openly acknowledged the mistake to internal stakeholders, but was there any formal communication internally about the email to internal stakeholders or external stakeholders?
So lucky for me, this was, we were trying to get ahead of the game. So it was before the Canada spam laws actually were live or whatever. So we kind of got away with a little bit of it. We sent an oops email to everyone who got it, everyone who it was delivered to. And I don't remember exactly what we did for internal communications, but I definitely went around and personally apologized to every single C-suite member.
Nothing like a little humility. Beyond the unfortunately painful lesson of letting your smart campaign limits load, which we've learned the hard way, a couple of us at least, what else did you learn during your remediation process?
The number one thing I learned actually was less of an ops thing and more of just like a professional thing, but own up to your mistakes right away, because there is no getting around when you screw up, especially when you're in this line of work. People are going to know. And like, if you don't own up to it, you're just like a jackass at the end of the day. And so take responsibility. You'll just be better off for it.
Yeah, I very much agree. Do you have any processes? Did you put any processes in place at that role, or any processes that you've taken with you into other roles to avoid mistakes like that in the future?
Yes and yes. So personally, I will never, ever, ever run any campaign unless I can see how many people are qualified for it. The first thing I do at any job now is I go look at the smart campaign limits and make sure it's less than the entire database in like the admin. And then at many jobs that I've had, or like clients that I've worked with throughout the years, I always do a QA checklist, and somebody else has to verify if something, especially compliance related, is going on. Somebody else has to QA and make sure everything looks right.
I love that. I hadn't really thought about ever checking the admin limits to make sure that comm limits are less than the whole database, but that's a really nice, oh shit, fail safe. Cool. So a couple of final thoughts. What would you say to the inevitable person that makes a similar mistake at some point in their career?
Kind of like I said earlier, definitely own up to it. There's no getting around it. And people will honestly respect you for having the integrity to do that. And also just be really careful when you do work, because it's easy in a job when you do the same kind of job every day and the same work for it to kind of get, not mundane, but just repetitive. Like you feel like you're clicking the same buttons and you're doing the same stuff, but that doesn't mean it's cool to get lazy and not QA your work.
Yeah, QA is super, super important. I know my personal rule is like nothing goes out the door without extra eyes on it. So what more general advice do you have for any fellow marketing or RevOps professionals listening in?
Don't let mistakes make you really sad, because I also did that, and I had a super rough time and lost all my confidence in my career, my abilities, which is stupid because everyone makes mistakes no matter what you're doing. And I would say don't let things like that get you down. Just make sure you use them as learning experience.
I love that. Well, that's I think a good note to end on. So thanks so much for taking the time to chat with us today, Rachel. I'm excited to share this one.
Thanks for having me.
MOOps.
Hi, I'm MH Lines. Over the course of my career, I've hired more than 100 marketing operations professionals. One of my favorite interview questions to see if someone's really been in the marketing operations trenches is to ask them about their biggest marketing operations fail. Whether it's from complexity, simple human error, or technology outages, mistakes happen to every single one of us, and they happen a lot more than we want to admit. That's actually the reason I founded Stack Moxie. We help people find problems and fix them faster and make sure they never come back. It's also the reason the team at Stack Moxie and I are really excited and proud to be a sponsor of MOOps TV by MOOps. I love that we can come together as a community and get better together as a community.
It might seem counterintuitive, but a failure, especially on a big stage, is an incredible opportunity for you to showcase your leadership chops. I hope you enjoy MOOps TV.